Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and this is vlog day. So happy to see every single one of you. So if you guys remember, on Friday I did my candy cane stripe tutorial thing. I wanted it to look more like a realistic candy cane rather than glittery. I want to go ahead and finish that up with you guys today. So I have some stuff in mind that I want to do. I want to add some chocolate drips to it and, you know, a cute little decal and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and do that together today. So I'm not going to talk too much this morning because I'm going to go ahead and get that going with you guys. And there's a lot of little steps that I have to do there. So I'm ready to wake up, prep these tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. All right, so I'm just going to show you guys really quick what I did with my decal. I just uploaded this right off of Creative Fabrica because I have a subscription this month, or I've had a subscription for it, so I wanted to use it, you know. But Etsy has really adorable decals as well. So I just did an offset on it. I went ahead and made it just a basic cut, and I took out all of the little things that were inside of it, and I just wanted one solid color because one piece is going to be vinyl, and the other piece I'm going to print out on clear water slide paper. So the whole reason why I didn't do anything for my tutorial, like I didn't put any designs on it or anything, was because I just wanted it to be inspiration for you guys. I want you guys to be able to create and do, you know, however you please without thinking it needed to be a certain way. So the stuff that I'm doing to it today is just something that I had in mind, but of course your inspiration on how you feel it needed to be done, it might be completely different from mine. So I'm just kind of showing you guys how I'm finishing mine up today. You may also be wondering why I did my decal that way. I didn't have printable vinyl, or I would have done printable vinyl, but you know, I'm just working with what I got. All I have is clear water slide paper. So I just decided to do up a piece of vinyl behind it with my clear water slide, and there we go. Now my decal's done. But of course, if I would have had printable vinyl, I would have just went ahead and used that. Now I'm just going to let that dry really well. I'm not going to put a coat of epoxy over top of this. I know, I'm crazy, right? I'm just going to go straight into my drips right after this dries because, you know, that's what I'm going to do. So there we go. That's how it looks so far. So for my first set of drips, because I'm going to do 2 sets of drips, this first set of drips, I'm just going to do it the regular old-fashioned way. I'm going to mix up my epoxy here really well. Then I'm going to go ahead and add some brown acrylic paint, and I'm also going to add some gold mica powder just to give it like a shimmery shine because I want it to kind of match the aesthetic of the tumbler itself. I wanted more of a realistic candy cane, so I want more of a realistic chocolate drip coming off the top. So there's the brown that I used, got it at Hobby Lobby. Same thing with the gold mica powder that I'm going to be showing you guys in a second. I also got that at Hobby Lobby as well. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I am using quick set epoxy for this. I'm just using Alumilite's quick coat epoxy because I want it to go quicker, okay? But I really like the color that the gold and the brown gave this. It looks very pretty. I really like it a lot. So I'm just going to kind of babysit that for a minute. Like I said, doing it the old-fashioned way. Just sitting and waiting and hoping that it gets ready anytime soon. I think it took all of maybe 15-20 minutes for it to finally get to the consistency, there we go, that I wanted. Hey, this is vlog day. You guys know I don't really take out too much whenever I do vlog day. So if I mess up words, it's staying in, okay? So right here, I'm just debating in my head, like why I decided to do this, you know? Like anytime we decide to do drips, we're like, why am I doing this? Why did I decide to do this? But that's okay. You know, we got this. We're going to do it. So like I said earlier, this is going to be my first set of drips. And as you can see here, I just drip it all around the edge so that way I can stand it up on its end and they all start to drip at the same time because, like I said, we're doing this the old-fashioned way, so there's nothing really kind of setting it back. But so at this stage here, like I said, I'm just kind of holding it up and down. You guys know how to do drips, you know. I don't know if I really need to explain it too much. There might be some of you guys, new guys out there, but you know what I mean. But I wanted this first set to kind of drip down a little bit further than the second set that I'm going to do. And I don't want it to look like spider legs. You know what I'm talking about? I want it to I want it to look like actual drips. So the thing that I like to do when I do this part is I really make sure that there's a nice round edge at the bottom rather than a point. I like to make sure that it's nice and rounded like a drip. And then I just try to keep control of that until it sets up. That's exactly why I like to use the quick set epoxy, because it makes it go a little bit quicker so you don't have to babysit it as long after you apply it to the tumbler. So I just continue this motion where I flip it up and down. Then I'm actually going to take it to my turner, and I do this process where I let it spin for a little bit because, you know, I like to let it flatten out just a little bit, and that helps it out. Then I'll pick it up and I will let that round tip form again. And don't look at that. I'm going to fix that, and I'll show you guys how to fix that. I know the drips are over the decal. It's not a big deal. We're going to fix it. I'll show you. Anyways, I hold it up straight to get that ball formed again on the bottom of my drips. And then I place it back onto my turner until it finally sets up enough to where it's not really going to move around too much. So this probably took me about 15-20 minutes for this process to be completed. So I'm just going to finish up this process. I'm going to let it dry about or cure about 5 hours, and then we're ready to add our second layer of drips over top. Okay, before we move on to the second layer of drips, I want to show you guys this cup. I recently bought them about a month ago, and it was right where the epoxy is at Hobby Lobby. It's the Alumilite cups, and I'm just going to reuse the same exact cup that I used for the first set of drips. And all you got to do is just simply peel out your epoxy, and it's good to go for another thing of epoxy, which is great because half the time I use cups that you can't reuse, and so I end up throwing them away. So this is really great. I really enjoy this. So I'm just taking my X-Acto knife to kind of really get on the edge there. Peel it, start peeling it back, and it will all just come out all by itself. All right, again, I'm using quick set epoxy for this. I'm going to do the same exact thing. I thought about using a different color, but I was like, no, we'll just go with like a double chocolate look, you know? So, you know, this one actually turned out just a little bit lighter than my first one, so that's good. So it kind of adds to the character of everything. So after I got that mixed up really well is the time that I'm going to go ahead and start adding regular old cornstarch that you can buy at Walmart. As you've seen there, this is just the Great Value brand cornstarch. That's all you want to use. And we're going to use that as a thickening agent for our epoxy here. And of course, this is staying out here and not going to be cooked with. So you know what I mean? You want to make sure that you leave it in there, maybe even write with a permanent marker that it's for epoxy use only, so that we don't accidentally contaminate your actual food with your epoxy cornstarch here. You know, I'm just saying, okay? Anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add my epoxy a little bit at a time, or not epoxy, cornstarch. I'm going to add my cornstarch a little bit at a time, and it's going to start to thicken as you add it. So you just want to add it until it gets to the consistency that you would like. So just keep adding your cornstarch until that epoxy is nice and fluffy and ready to apply to your tumbler. So when I first started doing drips, you know, it obviously was like kind of a pain because you'd literally have to wait 45 minutes for your epoxy to set up when you're using normal epoxy. And then, you know, people started talking about additives and cornstarch and all that. So this is obviously a really great thing to be able to use in your epoxy if you want to use epoxy drips. And then another great thing is the dimensional paint drips. That's amazing as well. I mean, there's so many new techniques that just come out all the time, and it's almost overwhelming to try to keep up with all the new techniques and stuff that people come up with, but it's also so inspiring because it's like, I would have never thought of some of these things. Obviously, somebody else came up with this idea, and of course, at first, I was like, no, we can't put cornstarch in that, but it works just fine. There's nothing wrong with it. So, I mean, these make absolutely beautiful, fluffy drips, and there is nothing wrong with it. Okay, so let's add some dimension to my first layer of drips here, which is, again, that's exactly the look I was going for, okay? But now the second layer is what's really gonna start to give it character. As you can see, that's maybe 5 minutes into me working with my quick set epoxy, there we go, and with the cornstarch, and it is absolutely perfect to work with. That's exactly the consistency that I was looking for. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take a spoonful and just run it around my rim and just keep going completely around. And as you can see, it's very slow with the drip. It obviously makes a drip in the end, but it's very slow with it. So you can kind of keep an eye on it and just make sure that it doesn't go too far down, and you can just kind of work with it from there. But it's just a wonderful consistency to work with. So as you guys can see, I'm really loading this on, and it's about the thickness of maybe like a frosting, maybe. It almost looks like frosting in a way, you know. It's almost like the thickness of frosting, and I'm just really loading it on in places that I really want to make sure that those extra drips really start to form. So like around the back and a little bit around the front as well. And again, I'm about to show you guys how I cleaned up those drips over top of my decal. Even though I didn't seal the decals with epoxy, it's still able to be fixed. All right, after I got that extra stuff on, I'm just gonna keep flipping it upside down and then back over again, because I wanna make sure that my drips stay nice and rounded at the tips. So here, I spun it around a little bit for you guys. I was doing a dance. But here are those drips that were already kind of cured over my decal, but because they're not fully cured, they're still very pliable because we just did it five hours ago. So I simply just peel it back, cut it with my X-Acto knife, and there we go. My drips are off of my decal. Now, the only reason why this works on this particular decal is because it's so slick. If you try to do this off the epoxy, it's a little bit harder because, you know, it has something to stick to on the epoxy, but the decal is obviously a little bit slipperier than the epoxy that is on the tumbler itself. So it worked really well for me for that. But if you guys find that, you know, you have drips on your actual epoxy, it might take a little bit more to pry it off of it because it's a little bit more stuck down. But like I said, this has always worked for me, peeling it right off the decal. And if I would have used printable vinyl, it may have damaged the printable vinyl. So, you know, you never know. So I'm actually going to come through because I don't want a straight edge on my little cutoffs here. I'm actually going to take just a little piece of the epoxy that we've been using and just kind of remake the tip of my drips here to match the rest of it. Because it's already set up quite a bit, it's very simple. You just make a little ball, you place it right on the end there, and there you go. It's really not going to move around too much after this. So there, now it's nice and fixed, and it looks just like the rest of everything. But I'm just going to finish up these little extra drips that I'm trying to fix here. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to let that cure, and that's pretty much what I wanted to do to mine. I didn't want to add any little sprinkles or anything like that. I kind of wanted to make it kind of anybody could use it. You know, my husband could use it if he wanted to, or the kids could use it, or me, you know, or, you know, if I decide to do this as a giveaway, anybody could use this. Okay, well, I got my drips all applied and everything. It's been sitting for a little bit now, so this is what it looks like. Touched up there, so it's not so much on it, but I really like how that double drip look happened there. Very cool. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it around there so you guys can see. I think it just it makes it look more realistic this way. I don't know. What do you guys think? Look okay? I really like how these turn out. I love how it just goes all the way on to the bottom and all that. But even Jeff said, he's like, wow, it really looks like a candy cane dipped in chocolate. I still have to let that dry and put a coat of epoxy over it and all that because of my decal and stuff. But other than that, it's pretty much done, so. Now, I was thinking about making this a giveaway tumbler for you guys, but I don't know yet. I'm not sure if I don't know. I haven't like fully decided yet if I want to do that yet. So if I do decide, this will be a giveaway tumbler for you guys. I'll make sure to make a post in the community tab for you guys to find and all that. So I'll let you guys know, okay? But I think that's going to do it for me today. I still got to go in, get the kids ready for school tomorrow and all that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day and an amazing rest of your week. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.